You're listening to 107.9 FM, WRML LP Mays Landing. Coming up next on VGM on FM, a look at this week's retro video game news with the RGN Files, powered by Retro Game Network. In the RGN Files this week, Nintendo had announced this past November that they would be bringing back their popular NES Classic plug-and-play console to stores later this year. But earlier this week, the Big N made the announcement as to exactly what their interior motive is for its return. According to an official statement through the company's quarterly briefing statement, Nintendo states that they hope that by bringing the NES Classic back to store shelves, that consumers may be enticed to purchase their most current system to date, the Nintendo Switch. The Switch has already proven to be a success for Nintendo, selling almost 15 million units worldwide since its launch 11 months ago. In comparison, the Switch's predecessor, the Wii U, sold only 13.5 million units over the course of just over 4 years. New shipments of the NES Classic are planned to be available for purchase this summer and should sell for just under $60 for the 30 built-in games. Limited Run Games made the announcement this week that they will be mass-producing replacement jewel cases for the Sega CD and Sega Saturn consoles. Collectors of physical game media for these systems have struggled longly with their jewel cases breaking, especially at the hinges, due to their fragility as the years go on. In a tweet posted by LRG's Josh Fairhurst, which shows a photo of one of the long boxes, he states that the disc holder tray has not yet been tested, however will be included with the purchase. While designed for the Sega CD and Saturn in mind, the jewel cases are also compatible with early PlayStation 1 titles that were distributed with a long box casing. There is currently no word as to when they will be available for purchase, nor what the cost of the replacement jewel cases would be. Jaromir Jagr has announced his departure from the National Hockey League to return to his native Czech Republic to play for the WSM Liga. What does this have to do with video games? Jagr ending his NHL career means that it was his last active player to be featured on the popular sports title NHL 94, originally released by Electronic Arts back in 1993. He was also the final current player to be featured on the NES and Super NES title Pro Sport Hockey, published by Jaleco that same year. At the time of the game's release, he was a right winger for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but most recently played for the Calgary Flames. Jagr leaves the NHL being the third highest goal scorer of all time, with 766 goals achieved between 1990 and 2018. In entertainment-related news, Nintendo has made a statement that they have partnered up with Illumination Entertainment to bring a full-length animated feature film to the big screen based on characters from the Super Mario Bros. Video game lineup. The upcoming film will be co-produced by Shigeru Miyamoto, who was the creator of the characters. Another co-producer of the picture is Chris Meledandri, who is best known for his work with films such as Despicable Me and The Minions. Of course, this isn't the first time that the Mushroom Kingdom was featured on the big screen. Back in 1993, a live-action film was released starring the late Bob Hoskins, which was a severe flop at the box office. There is currently no word on any cast decisions or release dates at this time. In addition, Atari has teamed up with Scott Sternberg Productions to bring the historical game of Pong to the small screen as a new television game show to be entitled $1 Million Pong. Atari CEO Frederick Chasna states that bringing the title to television would be a natural fit, while Sternberg stated that it's not often that the chance is given to bring an iconic brand to television. In recent years, Scott Sternberg Productions has brought shows such as The Love Connection, Rock and Roll Jeopardy, and $1 Million Password to local television affiliates. Currently, there is very little information available as there is no word on a particular master of ceremonies, nor have any broadcast networks, cable channels, or streaming services have presently picked up the series. An independent game programmer from Poland has decided to port the 1992 Sega Genesis title Ferrari Grand Prix Challenge to the Atari 8-bit computer platform. The Genesis title was originally known as F1 Hero MD when it was first released in Japan, however adapted the Ferrari name when ported to the United States. In a video uploaded to YouTube last week by a Polish Atari forum member known only as Gonzo, the progress shows a 6-color title screen, alongside of a superimposed game sprite, as well as stationary timers in front of a movable background. The game is in the very early stages of development, showing a reduced frame rate and screen flickering, but may be solved by using a second debugger. There is currently no word on a potential release date nor distribution method. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, yes folks, RGN is back. Retro Game Network, which started back in 2012, has been lying dormant since 2015 due to time restraints by this contributor. I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for their kind words to our return, and we certainly hope that you will check us out each and every day at RetroGameNetwork.com for the latest and greatest in retro video game news. Because this is our first RGN Files feature on Retro Game Network, we wanted to take the opportunity to let everyone know exactly when and where the podcast can be heard. For listeners on RetroGameNetwork.com, the RGN Files will replace our former podcast known as Week in Review. A new podcast will be available for listening every Sunday evening at 5 p.m. Eastern on RetroGameNetwork.com. In addition, the RGN Files will also be a regular feature on the new official radio show of RGN called VGM on FM. The show can be heard on WRML 107.9 FM in the Mays Landing, New Jersey area, as well as worldwide via the free TuneIn radio app. For those listening on VGM on FM, please stay tuned. There'll be more great retro video game music coming up shortly. For those of you listening on RetroGameNetwork.com, we thank you for listening and we'll hear you again next time. For the RGN Files and Retro Game Network, I'm Christopher Chrisman. For full details of any of the stories featured on the RGN Files, be sure to check out our official website at RetroGameNetwork.com. This week's news provided by the following: Atari Online, Forbes Magazine, Mark Riley, The Score, Sega Nerds, Twitter, Variety Magazine, The Verge, Vintage is the New Old. You're listening to VGM on FM with Christopher Chrisman on 107.9 FM WRML. Now, back to the music.